Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sai Chandana. So welcome everybody to this international webinar on toxicology, a scientific field of study for human safety. Indeed, we are all very glad here at Sri Vidyaniketan Degree College, Tirupati. And on behalf of the Sri Vidyaniketan Group of Education Institutions and Trust, we are very thankful to our management, very revered and respectable esteemed chairperson, Padma Shri Dr. Mohan Babu Garu, and our very encouraging CEO, Shri Vishnu Sir, for giving us this opportunity to conduct a series of webinars starting this academic year for interacting with the students and the excellent and almost all, they are the specifically excellent and wonderful researchers across the world. We are very honored with the presence of Dr. Satish Anand in our midst today for this webinar as a resource person, because, being a DABT, a diplomate with the American Board of Toxicology, that itself is so exciting a kind of an introduction for Sir, that the level of research Sir has done to get to that position. We are very happy that Sir is here with us today to give a right direction to all our students and all the faculty or the students who are attending this program, because that is the need of the hour. So when we talk about the latest pandemic situation, about the corona, we have so many confusions, and we need to understand that, like every single dimension of study or knowledge is necessary to make ourselves very, very safe in this world. So toxicology not only as a kind of combined kind of study with the chemical sciences or the biological sciences or the pharmacology, where we have everything about how to actually put across ourselves safely with the chemical and the other exposure that we have got, or the toxic exposure that we have got in the world. It treats us in a different way as of now after the corona has come, because any virus or any toxin in this world, it actually affects a human being, and the human being has a susceptibility with the cell structure. Only according to that susceptibility, the effect also will either increase or decrease. So it cannot be generalized. That is what corona has taught us. Irrespective of whatever methodology we are following to curtail that, definitely there is this particular ratio of susceptibility in the human cell which is there. Like when we learn about how we make ourselves safer, then automatically, maybe with the food or with the expertise or whatever we are trying to understand, I think this is actually what we call as de-risking ourselves from the drug safety, or maybe from the food safety, or whatever things which are available in this world, which is going to make us much more, substantially safe and substantially productive in the coming days. So today, if corona has come, tomorrow it can be something else, or it can be some other medical or some other toxin or some other things. The children who are drinking milk with a milk mix in their milk early in the morning, they are susceptible to so many things, because each and every milk mix is made up of so many steroids and so many animal residues or bone residues from the animals, which are very widely evident. Even you see at the back of the bottle. At the very same time, if you see drugs, or if you see cosmetics, or if you see anything, whatever is there in this world, which is available on a supermarket platform or on a digital platform where we go for shopping and buy things, it is like that we are bringing toxins every day home. It is quite normal. In fact, early in the morning when we have a cup of coffee with a sugar which is chemically treated to become white, then we are drinking gastric kind of problems into our stomach. It is going in, and the chemical residues are making ourselves gastric. And if you don't follow it up with a good breakfast, you're going to feel nauseatic, you're going to feel hungry more, or you're going to feel a kind of cramps in the stomach. That is what is happening everywhere. So the toxicology area, which is explored across the world, maybe sometimes in some countries or in some education systems, it is not a main subject, or it is not given priority. But now today, Sir is here with us today, and he is going to tell us how exciting a study is toxicology, and how when we have this knowledge and the scientific field where we get the exploration of about how you have to actually understand the levels of combating with the toxins and how we make ourselves kind of secure in this world. I think we are going to have more kind of opportunities to make ourselves actually a race or a creature in this world, or the God's creation in this world, which is going to outdo other things. So animal and the human existence in this world depends upon the level of toxicity that we are going to fight out in the coming days. But we know whether it is, when we see the medical kind of things also, I was looking at so many medical residues or so many medical scrap which is thrown out. It is full of toxins. Whether it is treated or not, even a municipality does not know, or the government is not taking care. It is only coming into a kind of a forum where the discussions are alone happening. Why don't we make it much more wider? Why don't you make it much more bigger? So we need to have a kind of an orientation for all the students to take up advanced fields of scientific study to make the progress of human civilization or the human existence much more dynamic. So I think this webinar is going to throw an insight on this particular value of the human existence or the human evolution and the in the coming years. So I think it is going to be of a great use and great help that the students will get first-hand interaction kind of an experience with Sir today, and try to take up this opportunity to become future researchers. Once again, I thank Dr. Satish Anand for accepting our invitation and being here with us today. And congratulations to the Department of Chemical Sciences, Dr. Mohan Kumar sir, especially for arranging this webinar and coordinating it so well, and Dr. Parthasarathi sir to take the lead and arrange for this entire experience which is going to happen today in few minutes. I thank the entire team of faculty and students who have worked hard to make this happen very successfully with huge number of registrations. And I welcome all the participants from India and abroad for this wonderful experience of research which you're going to get in few minutes. Thank you once again, all the people who have joined us today. And on behalf of SPDC, we welcome you and God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request our webinar coordinator, Dr. K. Mohan Kumar sir, to introduce today's eminent resource person. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sai Sandana. Good afternoon, every participants. This is Mohan Kumar Krishnamurthy, Senior Lecturer, Sri Vidyaniketan Degree College, Tirupati. Before to introduce resource person, I sincerely appreciate my management, respected Principal Madam Dr. D. Ashalata and Department Head Sri C. Parthasarathi for constantly encouraged me to have this webinar with my best friend Dr. Satish Anand as a resource person, and also my wife Dr. B.R. Punjavadi and my UG PG classmates, former colleagues, as well as former students, faculties from many universities, say Shastra University from Tamil Nadu, Tiruchirappalli Bharadas University, Tiruvallur University, and also Dr. Vasantha Kalam from Rwanda as well connected today. Hence, today I am really proud to say that this movement become one of the evergreen day of my life. Dr. S. Satish Anand is one of the industry certified toxicologists in USA, DABT as said by Principal Madam, diplomate in American Board of Toxicology. Is one of the industry certification. It's very difficult to obtain. So he is one of the DABT certified toxicologist in USA. For the past 20 years, he has been in USA. After doctorate degree awarded by University of Madras in 2000 in toxicology, followed by he started his academic research career as a postdoc fellow in Louisiana, USA. Since then, he steadily stepping into ladder and now holding a senior position as a principal scientist, drug safety in Boehringer Ingelheim Animal Division, Atlanta, USA. Boehringer Ingelheim is one of the German-based multinational drug company where he is working in Atlanta. Before joining this company, he has worked in 3-4 multinational companies, including DuPont, Ascal. Simultaneously, he has published many research papers, written book chapters, and he is a member of many editorial board, cum ad hoc reviewer, and member of many professional external committees. I am sure for him, still there is a long way to go. So, All the credentials of Satish Anand, I strongly believe that because of his consistent hard work, pleasing smiling personality, health consciousness, and he is also sports player. He won many matches. I mean, inter-university matches between, I mean, badminton and cricket as well. So everything paying him now. Hence, I am really proud to have him as my best friend and as a resource person for today's webinar. I hope everyone undoubtedly will benefit from this webinar. Thanks for joining one and all. Have a great time. Sai Sandana, thanks for you. Please take over.
I deem it an honor to invite today's esteemed resource person, Dr. Satish Anand, to enlighten us about toxicology, a scientific field for human safety. All the participants are eagerly waiting to listen to you, sir.
Thank you, Sai Chandana. You are an excellent host. Thanks, Mohan, for a great introduction. Dr. Ashalata, it was an excellent background on toxicology as well as the introduction that you have provided. It's been an honor for me to be here. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is staying safe and healthy in this pandemic and tough times. So at least we have technology that connects us through the Zoom and other platforms, so we can interact and learn from each other and everything. So very appreciative of that. So today, I'm very excited to do two things that I love the most. Number one, talking to students. Number two, talking about toxicology. So today's presentation, I don't want to read the title again. It's been mentioned a couple of times already. But the plan for today is to stay at the very high level, to provide you some background information on toxicology. So when I was at this time, doing my bachelor's and master's, I had no idea what toxicology was. So when I moved into my postdoctoral, the PhD research, that's when I started learning toxicology. So I am appreciative of this opportunity to talk to the students to tell about toxicology. So the objective today slide is not moving. So, objective of today's presentation is to provide information on the field of toxicology, the role of toxicologists, the job opportunities that may be available in the field, and additional resources for further learning. So with this objective, the agenda is to answer following questions. What is toxicology? Why should you care? What are the toxicology principles? What does a toxicologist do in a daily life? And where does a toxicologist work? And what are the resources for further learning? So to start with, what is toxicology? So toxicology is study of adverse effects, bad effects, ill effects of chemical, biological, and physical agents on living organisms. Chemicals. What are chemicals? We know there are thousands of chemicals around us. Like Dr. Ashlata mentioned, simple thing, coffee has caffeine. That's a chemical. And some examples, ethanol, cyanide. Ethanol is nothing but ethyl alcohol or alcohol simply. So that is one of the model compounds in toxicology. It is well studied to understand various mechanisms. Biological, microorganisms. In the right, you see various microorganisms that are pictured there. As you see, COVID has been added to the list very recently. And proteins, antibodies, and stem cells are considered biological materials that can cause toxicity. And physical agents are noise, vibration, radiation, and extreme heat. So toxicology, the word comes from Greek. It's coined in 17th century. It is nothing but scientific study of poison. So toxicology is the oldest scientific field. As you imagine, now we have so many tools and technologies to differentiate good versus bad in terms of what to eat or what not to eat, things like that. But those times, all they had was their 5 senses. They have to eat, taste, and realize, or touch and realize, hear and realize, see and realize. Right? Those are the 5 senses that they used to decide what to do, what to eat, etc. So today humans are exposed to chemicals both deliberately and inadvertently. Thousands of chemicals. So every year there are 500 or so products are coming to the market with various combinations of chemicals. Like Dr. Ashlata mentioned, the milk powder that has number of chemicals. As you see in the picture, the cleaning solutions, cosmetics, they have number of chemicals in there. So the most common exposure is through oral, eating, ingestion, through by food, whether it is animal origin, meat, or the plant origin, vegetables. So they contain number of chemicals. So when the chemicals are from either the animal origin or the plant origin or the microorganisms, they are called toxins. So any naturally occurring compounds coming from the living system is called toxins. The other category is synthetic chemicals. They are manufactured through a chemical process. They are called toxicants. So these are two terminologies that we'll be talking, toxins and toxicants, commonly used in the field of toxicology. So don't be overwhelmed with this illustration. This is just to show over the years, back to Stone Age and Ice Age, the number of events related to poisons happened. So it is split into various periods to show what has happened over the years. Just to give you some examples, Cleopatra. So I'm sure you all heard about that. Queen of Egypt. One of her best pastimes is to play with poison, either on herself or on others. How did she die? She died of a snake bite. Socrates, a Greek philosopher, he was poisoned, killed using a hemlock poison, which causes the paralysis, convulsions, and death. It's nothing but the neurotoxicity. Mithridates, the king of Pontus, who was so afraid, so feared for his life that someone would poison him, he was taking small doses of poison every day. Sure enough, when somebody tried to poison him with a large dose, he was protected. But it would not work in all the situations and all the conditions. Pope Clement died of eating toxic mushrooms. And in the US, Food and Drug Law passed in 1906. So you may be wondering, oh, it's all well and good. It's fascinating historical event. Why should I care? You should care because it is everywhere around you. Every day you are seeing this, you are experiencing this. Let's see how. So the simple things, the bites, mosquito bite, ant bite. I am sure everyone in this participating in this seminar has had one of these or both of these. Snake bites, we have heard, not so common, but we have heard honeybee sting. So what do they do? When mosquito bite or ant bite happen, you may have experienced itchiness, redness, swelling. Death from snake bites and allergy from honey bite. How do they happen? That's where the toxicology comes in. These creatures, when they bite us, they inject the toxins, the naturally occurring chemicals in their body into our body. What does that do? That causes itchiness, that causes swelling, that causes the burning sensation. So the other two are air pollution, the smoke coming out of the vehicles or the industry, and water pollution. So talking about air pollution. Among the 30 most polluted cities in the world, 21 of them are in India. So some of the effects that air pollution causes: itchiness, burning sensation, suffocation, lung toxicity, wheezing, and asthma. So you might have seen this picture in the TV. This is India Gate in Delhi. The right side picture is taken during summer months. The left side is taken during the winter months. So this is due to the various pollutions that is listed in this slide that occurs, that causes this kind of smog. And this is a common sight in any city in the developing countries. It's not only in India, in other places it is seen as well. So these two pictures, these are not during the COVID time. They are not wearing the mask to protect themselves from COVID. This is to protect themselves from the smoke. Again, this is in Delhi. It is a common sight in the winter months from November to February. And when Sri Lankan players walked into the field with the mask a few years ago, that became a big news. The water pollution. The four pictures that I have given here, the first picture was in Delhi again. Yamuna River, a few years ago, had a foam forming. So people were so excited to take pictures. However, what they didn't know was the reason for that foam is coming from all the industrial and other waste around the city. And it's dangerous to be taken pictures like that. And pollution in River Ganga and industrial waste. And the figure 4, it is a water body outside a tanning industry. It is a common sight in the area that I'm coming from in Tamil Nadu. So this is what motivated me to study the toxicology, to take toxicology as a field and contribute to the field of toxicology. There are other examples: pesticide toxicity, farmers committing suicide using pesticides, or other inadvertent toxicity from pesticides. Illegal liquor is such a big thing, especially in India, some parts of South India and some parts in North India. What it is using unapproved method to produce liquor. So, batteries and other things. What happens? It forms methanol instead of ethanol. So methanol is non-toxicant to cause blindness and death. Bhopal, it's the capital of Madhya Pradesh. In 1984, the methyl isocyanate gas leak, it's such a global news, led to 4,000 people's death. Maggi noodles, I'm sure you remember this. In 2015, was banned by Indian government because of higher lead levels and MSG, that monosodium glutamate or Ajinomoto. Recently, in May, in Vizag, there was a leak a gas leak that impacted people's lives. In addition to that, in the last 20 years, there are a number of outbreaks, Ebola, Zika virus, etc. And now we are all experiencing the pandemic. We are in pandemic, COVID-19. So these are all some of the examples to give you a flavor of what toxicology is about, which is understanding the effects of chemicals, biologicals, or physical agents to protect human health. So it's a question time. You don't have to send your answers or anything, just to kind of check our knowledge so far. You want to put a vegetable garden, but you are worried about high lead and arsenic concentrations in soil. What type of substances you are concerned about? Toxin or toxicants? You are correct. You are correct. So it is toxicant. The next question. All naturally occurring chemicals are safe. Is it true or false?
False.
It is false. You're right. You are becoming an expert in the field of toxicology already. So, what are the toxicology principles? Let's see some of the key terminologies here. Dose, the amount of an agent that gets into the body, agent or chemical. Toxicity or hazard, adverse effect, bad effect or ill effect of the chemical. What is adverse effect? Any change from organism's normal state. So let's explain this in this way. When you logged into this seminar, you were fresh and feeling all right. Now it is 20 minutes into the seminar. If you feel a slight headache, then that's an adverse effect of me talking. Let's talk about dose response. So you have slight headache in 20 minutes of me talking versus if you experience severe headache at the end of my talk, like 50 minutes or so, that is the dose response. As I talk more, your headache increases. I really hope it's not that way, but ADME. We call it as ADME or ADME, which is absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. It is nothing but what body does to the chemical. Once chemical is inside, what body does to the chemical. Inter-individual variability is the person-to-person difference. Once the chemical is inside, the way I respond will be different from the way you respond. Exposure, contact with an agent. Risk, bringing all these concepts and then finalizing whether something causes risk to humans, which is likelihood of harm from a specific hazard. And then the NOAEL, NOEL, LOAEL, these are some of the terminologies toxicologists use to define the adverse effect. A question again. Which one of the below is toxic? Apple, potato, water, all of the above. I heard apple.
Apples. All of them.
All of the above or apple?
All of the above, sir.
Okay. I thought Sai Chandana stopped eating apples. It is all of the above.
So, apple seeds contain cyanide, no, sir. Some amount of.
Exactly. Yeah. So you are absolutely correct. We are going to see why all of the above, and we are going to cover the toxicity of apple, potato, and water. So I'm sure you are not shocked by say someone saying all of the above. If you are, hold on a second. If you are not, that's good. You are on the right path. You know about toxicology. If you are shocked, hang in there. You will know why all of the above. So the father of modern toxicology, Paracelsus, made a statement like this: all substances are poison. There is none which is not a poison. The right dose, that is the key. The right dose differentiates a poison from remedy. So, the commonly eaten fruits and vegetables: apples, pears, potato, and the zucchini. So, all these contain one form or other toxic chemical. However, we eat them and we are fine. Why? Because we don't eat to the level that can cause an adverse effect. Take an example of apple. Like we heard, yes, apple contains what is called amygdalin, which can release cyanide. In order for apple to impact you, cause adverse effects, you should be eating 40 apples at one time. And potato, it contains solanine. Solanine is nothing but a natural pesticide. So this is how potato protects itself from the insects or pests. So in order for it to affect you, you should be eating at least 2 to 3 kilograms of potato at one time. Let's see what happens with water. We all know 2 liters of water in a given day, in over a 24-hour period of time, is good for your health. However, this woman drank 6 liters of water at one time for a competition. What happened? When she got home, she vomited, had severe headache, and then died. Why? That too much of water compromises the kidney function, and too much of water disturbs the electrolyte balance, which means more sodium electrolyte goes into the cells, body cells, and it causes swelling, and it leads to many neurological signs. So there are other examples where something is non-toxic or beneficial at low dose, and which is toxic as the dose go higher. Again, however, it is toxic at 0.1% and lethal at 0.5%. Again, explain this concept in another simple way. You see this, you are happy, and you can eat it, and you have happy, yummy tummy. However, if you have to eat hundreds of these, you have really painful tummy. So the concept is that simple. And again, let's explain this using alcohol as an example. Dose response. This is the central concept or key concept in the field of toxicology. And in this picture, the x-axis is a dose, y-axis is a response. As the dose increases, let's see what happens. When you take a little bit of alcohol, no effect, more giddiness, more feel sleepy, deep sleep, unconsciousness, labored breathing, and death. So the concept is simple. As the dose goes higher, the response or adverse effect goes higher as well. So we saw ADME or toxicokinetics. That is what body does to the chemical once it is inside. Absorption happens through lungs, skin, or GI, through the mouth. Distribution, once inside, it has to be distributed throughout the body through blood. Metabolism, organs like liver and kidney have metabolic capacity that can break down the chemicals, and organs like kidneys and lungs, they can exhale or get rid of the chemicals through excretion process. Individuals respond differently to a chemical than I, because of the genetic makeup I eat versus what you eat, health conditions, any disease or underlying conditions that exist. Age, younger children are more susceptible than adults, and older population is more susceptible. So let's take alcohol again as an example. Asians versus Caucasians. Asians lack one of the enzymes that clears alcohol from the system. Because of not having that enzyme, Asians cannot drink a lot. After some amount, Asians get headache, so they cannot drink more. However, Caucasians, because they have that enzyme, they can quickly metabolize alcohol. They can drink more, which means they are sensitive to liver tumors. So Asians cannot drink more, but they are not susceptible to liver tumors. Caucasians can drink more, but they are susceptible to liver tumors. So this is the inter-individual variability. So route of exposure, how a chemical gets into the system. Like we talked about, ingestion or oral is the most of the exposures for us. And other routes of exposures, dermal, that is our skin, and eyes, inhalation, injection, etc. So in terms of effectiveness, intravenous is nothing but direct access to the blood. I'm sure if any of you are hospitalized for various illness, or you have seen in movies and other things that when somebody is admitted to the hospital, the first thing is done is through IV, saline is given to make sure that person is hydrated. And then medication is given through IV so that it acts immediately. That's the most effective route of exposure. And topical or dermal is the least effective because of the skin barrier that we have that protects the entry of the chemicals into the body. So let's take vitamin E as an example. The vitamin E in the solid form, powder form, taken orally, called essential nutrients. However, a recent research showed vitamin E in oil form, inhaled, oil form and inhaled, not the powder form eaten. This is oil form inhaled, causes lung toxicity and death. So in addition to the dose, the route of exposure and form of chemical are important as well. So bringing all these things together is a concept called risk. What is risk? Is if you have something hazardous or toxic, does that pose risk to you? Which means, question is there an exposure? So this is the formula. Risk is hazard multiplied by exposure. Let's see some examples how we can explain that. So we all know sun. What sun can do? It can burn you when it's really hot. So the morning sun, two couples, they enjoy the morning sun. When the sun moves, when it becomes afternoon, one couple protect themselves using an umbrella. Another couple, they are burned, meaning the hazard, when the exposure is there, the hazard causes the risk. Another example, you know what snake can do? When it is inside the box, it's safe. It's no risk for you. But if the snake is at your feet, you know what will happen. So a simple formula, let's see. When the hazard is 100, exposure is 0. No exposure means there is no risk. When hazard is 100, exposure is 1, the risk is 100. When hazard is 100 and exposure is 10, the risk is 1000. Again, simple concept of dose response, route of exposure, form, and then risk if there is exposure. So let's check our knowledge here. The larger the amount of exposure and the greater the dose, the greater the observed response. True or false? True. You are correct. So let's come to see why Sai Chandana stopped eating apples. I'm kidding. I'm picking on you, Sai Chandana. So apples contain seeds that release cyanide. So let's stop eating apples. True or false? False.
False.
Right. So a lay person or a non-toxicologist, when they hear apple seed contains cyanide, the first thing they say, let's stop eating. However, if you make the same statement to the toxicologist, the question they will ask, what is the dose, when will it happen, all those questions. So in this particular case, we all know now that you need to eat 40 apples at one time. And even with that, you have to swallow the seed, not swallowing, you have to chew the seed to release amygdalin so it can release cyanide. So what are the odds of eating 40 apples at one time and then chewing all the seeds in 40 apples? So that's why eating 1 or 2 apples in a day is not going to cause any harm to you. There is no risk to you. What does a toxicologist do? So there are a number of areas of specialization in toxicology. The general toxicology and regulatory toxicology are the most commonly used specialization in any industry and in the field of toxicology. So other specialized areas, environmental toxicology, which is nothing but studying the effects in the soil, studying the effects in the water. You know, what is the toxicity to the fish? What is the toxicity to any worms in the soil? Things like that. And dermal toxicology is about skin. Food toxicology is about toxic chemicals in the food that we eat. Forensic toxicology, I'm sure most of you have seen various TV shows that many crime shows that show that somebody who reads the lab report about person's the chemicals in the dead person's body and things like that, and come up with a solving murder mystery. So that's forensic toxicology. And clinical toxicology, when the drug is given to humans, somebody will follow to see what kind of adverse effects or what kind of ill effects that person may have, so that adjust the drug doses, etc. in the clinical science. So those are some of the terminologies there. So here is the job of a toxicologist. In collaboration with that's the key part of it, setting the safe limits. Safe limit means that limit or the dose at which that will not. Is everything okay?
Yes, sir.
I think someone needs to mute the phone.
Mohan, sir, could you please?
Okay now?
Yes.
Sure. This to assess the effects of chemicals and drugs to set safe limits. Safe limits meaning a dose at which there is no toxicity or ill effects if you consume them. So in the process, toxicologists will understand the mechanism of toxicity and develop the safer drugs and chemicals, ensure the safety of food and water, and solve the crime like we talked about in the forensic toxicology. So let's take drug development as an example and see what role a toxicologist plays. So here is how a drug is discovered and developed. In order to get one drug, one has to start with 10,000 compounds, and it has to go through various for a drug to be discovered, developed, and marketed. So stage 1 and stage 2 are the general and regulatory toxicologists will play role in. Stage 3 is clinical. Stage 1 and 2 is in vitro, and in vivo is human subjects will be involved in exposing the drug. So stage 1 and stage 2 are the places where a toxicologist will be involved in, and they will move from stage 1 to stage 2, stage 2 to stage 3, and then they stop right there. Once it is moved from stage 2 to stage 3, toxicologists will, regulatory and general toxicologists will stop right there. So to show this in another way, which is drug discovery and development, this picture shows the number of activities in the stage 1 and stage 2 to show how many activities the toxicologists will participate in, right? So at the end of the day, the objective here is to develop a drug to cure a disease or treat a disease at a dose, right? The dose at which it does not cause any safety risk to humans. So in this, two terminologies that we are talking about. One is dose that cures the disease, which is called a therapeutic dose or efficacious dose. The second one is dose that causes adverse effect, which is toxic dose. So this should tell you that there are two dose responses. One is for efficacy, that's the blue curve, and another one is for toxicity, that's the red curve. Two dose responses. Usually, the dose will be providing therapeutic or cure at a very low dose. As you increase, the efficacy increases. At one point in time, the efficacy stops and toxicity starts to increase. So, in the drug industry, one important terminology that is used is safety margin, which is the ratio between the toxic dose and the efficacious dose. So one will calculate this as this way. If you see 1 milligram per kilogram for this particular drug causes 90% of efficacy. And then at 100 milligram per kilogram, it causes acceptable level of toxicity, which is minimum toxicity that one can live with. So the ratio between these two, in this particular case, is 100. This is what drug companies will be hoping for, the safety margin of 100. So where does the toxicologist work? Many different places. So in the industry, there are a number of types of industry. Veterinary pharma, that's where I work in, Boehringer Ingelheim. Human pharma, chemical and pesticide industry, food industry, biotechnology, medical devices, cosmetic industry, consumer industry. Contract research organization. What is contract research organization? So the companies usually don't have all the capabilities that are needed to test their chemicals or drugs in their facility. So they will contract this out to an organization which has that capability. In the toxicology field, Charles River and Cowan are two big names globally. In India, Advinus, Intox, and Syngene are well known for this service. In terms of regulatory agencies, most of these agencies presented here are US based. So people work for local government, state government, and central government or federal government. So what do? Research is one part, but their main function is take the applications from these drug companies and chemical companies and review the application to make sure the safe levels set by the company toxicologist is okay. So once they approve, then it becomes the government mandated set limits. So that's their major job function. And non-profit organization. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is a well-known non-profit organization. They support $4 million every year to support drug development for diseases that don't have that many drugs. And consulting, like any field, toxicologists can start their own business because that means they are their own boss. So they will support these small companies. There are hundreds of small companies that they come up with drugs, but they don't have toxicologists in their own facility, in their own company. So they seek out consulting toxicologists to get their help for registering their drugs or chemicals. Now, there is a toxicology career in academia as well. As my friend Mohan introduced me, and I started after a PhD, I started as a postdoctoral researcher. And one can become an assistant professor and research assistant professor and assistant professor, and then associate professor, and then professor. So, what are the resources for further learning? There are resources globally and locally in India. The Society of Toxicology and American College of Toxicology are the two societies, and their websites have tons of information for you to learn more. I would recommend anyone who is interested to learn more, please visit the websites. You will see a lot of information. And then International Union of Toxicology, Eurotoxicology, certification, I was introduced, I have DABT. ERT is European Registered Toxicologist. There are a number of books locally in India, Tox Group. So it is recently started organization. The objective of this organization is to educate people on toxicology. So I would recommend for you to take a look at that. And there are other institutes and societies locally that would help you as well. Obviously, feel free to contact me if you have any questions or want to learn more in the field of toxicology. So bringing it all together, toxicology helps create a safer world. It's a fascinating science, and understanding how and what condition chemicals or drugs cause toxicity will lead to a new ways of preventing diseases and illnesses. And importantly, remember, everything is toxic at the right dose. But toxicity does not mean risk, because you need to take dose, route, and exposure into account. So, do you want to be a toxicologist? It only takes 2 easy lessons of 10 years. But jokes apart, it's an excellent field to pursue the career, and the demand will increase because safe chemicals and drugs are needed to meet various needs, and we need to keep our food and water safe. So toxicologists are needed. So I think this is my last slide on the talk. I really hope I kept you awake and you are not like this. With this, I would like to thank you all for listening, and stay safe and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable knowledge and giving us the right directive about toxicology and to choose career in research as well as in life sciences. Now I request our UG and PG coordinator, Dr. P. Manohar sir, to share his thoughts on today's webinar. Over to you, sir.
Manohar sir.
Okay, sir. It's audible, sir, now?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon to all. Thank you, Chandana, for giving me this opportunity to speak about the webinar. First of all, I congratulate the Department of Chemical Sciences, especially coordinator of this webinar, international webinar, Dr. K. Mohan Kumar, and head of the department, Sri C. Pathasarathi Garu, and webinar supporters, technical team, and the anchoring team. And I congratulate all of you to be part of this. And in respect of this webinar, we have received, our participants and myself and others, we have received excellent information regarding toxicology. During this pandemic situation, the role of toxicologist as will appreciate about the spread of the disease and everything. They have estimated, and they have given the analysis about that pandemic situation, COVID COVID-19 especially. And I thank to our beloved principal, Dr. D. Ashalata madam, for giving me this opportunity. Once again, congratulations to all. Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all.
Now
Thank you. Over to Chandana.
Now I request Dr.
Over to Chandana.
Okay, sir. Now I request Dr. Ishwari ma'am to start question and answer session. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening to all. First of all, I congratulate Satish Anand sir for sharing his views and thoughts on the toxicology. It's a wonderful lecture, sir. Now the session is open for discussion.
Sir, shall I ask you a question, sir?
Why not? Go ahead.
Good evening, sir. This is Sai Chandana. I have a question that you said, no, sir, some fruits and like apple and potato, some vegetables, they're having some toxic chemicals, no, sir. How they will interact in our body and how they cause toxic to our body, sir?
Good question, Sai Chandana. So different chemicals have different ways of causing toxicity. So when you eat small amounts, they are cleared from the system by, liver has the metabolic capacity. So they break them down and then disperse. However, some chemicals, they have affinity to attach themselves to some organ, pesticide especially. So pesticide means it is a compound that kills pests. Right? So what they do is when they develop pesticides, they develop a compound that targets the pest's brain. So pesticides' major mechanism of action is on the brain. So they bind themselves into some mechanisms that lead us to the normal function. So because of that normal function is impacted, all the neurological signs of convulsions, tremors, and all those things happen. So not one mechanism, various compounds have various mechanisms of action.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have a question. Can I ask, please?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. My name is
We are having trouble hearing you. Is it possible for you to write the question?
Hello, sorry
Hilda
madam, we cannot
Vasanta.
hear you madam clearly.
Ma'am, you can post your question in the chat box, ma'am.
Vasanta, ma'am.
Madam, excuse me madam, Vasanta madam. Could you please post your question in the chat box? We could not hear you clearly.
See, I request all the participants to kindly unmute and speak so that we can hear your voice clearly.
Hello, sir. I am Suchitra from Sastra University. I am Suchitra MR from Sastra University. Can I just post a question? Excuse me. I am Suchitra from Sastra University, Kumbakonam. Can I post a question?
Just to ask, madam.
Yeah. Please, ma'am.
To ask.
Yeah, yes. That is now, as it is a COVID situation, and here, of course, even the government organizations, they recommend the health professionals, even the IMA, they recommend the health professionals to have a dosage of at least, that is 3 doses of HCQs weekly. HCQs, that is hydrochloroquine. Okay. So I just wanted to know what is your idea about it? Is it toxic or is it safer? To which level? I just wanted a clarification about it. Satish, first, I want to appreciate your presentation. It was an excellent presentation. It was very informative. It is long time that we have seen you and your classmates. I studied PG along with you at Annamalai University. Thank you very much. And just can you please clarify about this?
Thanks, Suchitra. Nice to hear your voice after so many years.
Thank you.
So excellent question, but there is no simple answer. So again, those makes the difference. So each disease is different. First of all, the drug that you are talking about is not 100% proven to be effective in COVID. There is no COVID-related research. Of course, it is shown to be effective on other illness, but no research is shown that it is effective on COVID. However, it is suggested because it is treating the symptoms so that people's quality of life will be better. So it's a hypothesis, and it is working on some, it is not working on all. So, and then I would stay away from the dose levels and all those things because I am not a doctor, PhD doctor, not a medical doctor. So I would stay away from the question of prescribing anything. However, the only thing I would say is it may be helpful for some to treat the symptom, not the disease. So I would be careful. Also, when you are put in the situation, it's a risk, right? So, in a normal situation, you want a good safety profile of safety margin of 100. But situations like life or death, you accept some kind of risk, meaning even it affects me a little bit, it might cure the symptoms and I might live longer. So in those situations, it's okay to take the drug that causes a little bit more toxicity. So again, I know I have not answered your question of whether to safe or not to take the 3 doses of that drug. Yeah. But I wouldn't want to give any recommendation on that. But it's all based on individual situation and then life or death situation, so that more risk can be taken for the benefit.
Thank you, Satish. First, I would also like to appreciate the team who has organized a very good international webinar and provided us and all the participants a very valuable information. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Yeah, another question. Another question, sir. From the chat box, is all drugs are toxic to the, for all foreign substances are toxic to the body?
Yes, at the right level.
Did all the foreign substances are considered toxic to the body, sir? This is one of the question posed by Arun Kumar and Mani.
Go ahead.
Madam, your voice is breaking.
Okay, ma'am. Did all the foreign substances is toxic to the body or not? This is the question posed by the Arun Kumar M. Mani.
The simple answer to that question is yes, at the right dose. Small doses, not. At higher doses, it will be. Like we have seen water. We all thought, you need to drink water and all those things.
Yes, Satish Anand, one more question. Toxicology you have shown in one picture slide. I don't understand what is genetic toxicology.
Genetic toxicology is a chemical, the DNA. So there are a number of chemicals that can impact either the chromosome or the DNA itself. So the DNA is made up of 4 bases, correct? So when it impacts one place, one base, the body has the way to repair itself. However, if it does not get repaired, it leads to the mutation. It means the gene that is responsible for eyes, forming your eyes, if that is impacted, the eyes will become nose. So that's a simple way to put. I'm not trying to scare or anything, but a simple way to put, if there is any change in your genetic material, organ that you are supposed to get will not be there.
Sir, do I have a permission to add to this question, sir? Can I add?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Mohan Kumar sir, I would like to share one of my experiences, because I do travel a lot. I keep, observing a lot of things which travel around. Sir was actually talking about tanneries and the toxic, kind of waste which is coming out of the tanneries. So when I happened to go to Tirupur area, just to see, the textile industry, how they are having the world's biggest, largest area of textiles and all that. So one thing that I've observed is that equally, because of the textile, whatever hazardous waste is getting into rivers there, especially Noyala, as a Kaveri tributary, it has completely spoiled that particular area, and the land has become barren. Actually, it is not now fertile, in a fertile condition. So I was very much taken aback, because at that particular juncture, when I saw a t-shirt which is sold for 30 rupees there, it is 2,500 rupees in a lifestyle store. That was the education I wanted to give my son, actually, that he should never go to the lifestyle tomorrow. And, think about the sorry plight of people there in Tirupur. But what I came to know about after a lot of study in that area is that not only that the farmers are suffering with the lack of water and the pollution in the river, there is, as you told us, the genetic toxicology. Most number of cases which are coming are for infertility treatment are from that particular area, because there is a higher level and instance of impotence, sir. So that might be, as you are talking about, it is only because of the pollution of that particular area. That is what they are telling. And the same thing I observed in this Ranipet area also, where we have this leather industry as well as tanneries. I think this is one area where we need to educate the students to be more maybe safer in order to see how to deal with that. So am I correct, sir? Satish, sir? Yeah. I've heard a lot about it, sir, that it is the condition there. It's making the people impotent.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I have one doubt. You allow me, can we
Hello? Yes, sir. Sir, we are not able to hear you properly, sir.
Okay, so I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr.
Trouble hearing you?
Shankar, please go ahead. Yeah, yes.
Better.
Shankar, you repeat your question once again. They are not hearing. Yes, tell me once more. We didn't get exactly.
Okay, the question is actually, We all know sperm joins with ovum, correct? During reproduction, human reproduction or animal reproduction. And we have millions of sperms. And only one sperm is what you call attached with the ovum, and it forms an embryo. So my question is whether the sperm is really toxic to ovum. Why only one sperm is allowable or tolerable by the ovum? Why not the other millions of sperm? Why it is not? Whether it is a toxic to the ovum or it is toxic to the female bodies? So can you able to answer, Dr. Satish Anand? Really, I was enjoying your talk. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks, Shankar. Now you are pushing me from the area of toxicology to the area of reproductive biology. Now, here is my attempt to answer that question. So it's just, yes, you are right, millions. But just think about the target shooting, right? You take something and shoot at the target. Not everything is a bullseye. Some misses, some goes here, some falls, all those things. One hits the bullseye, that one is what it is. And sometimes you have seen the two kids and triplets. And recently, few years ago, one female gave birth to 8. There are examples, but the common case is how many that can hit the bullseye is the question. And, we talked about millions, right? Millions can be dead. How many of them are active? How many of them are motile, meaning mobility? And it has to reach from the place of delivery to the place of destination. How many can reach? How many are active? So, given all those things, in general, it is 1, maybe 2, in extreme case, 8. That's what we have seen.
Okay, that means only one number of sperm is the active dose, and rest of them are not active dose.
No, I'm not saying the active dose. More than one may be active, but how many of them are hitting the right spot? Because that's also a cell, right? It has to penetrate to go in. So how many of them can go? And then ovum also, how many can they take? So there's a number of things, but that's why biology is a fascinating field, right? There's no explanation as to why that happens. Why can't how can a body can hold 8? We wonder, but what happens to all the millions become? Can a woman hold it? No, right? So that's the fascination about the biology.
So one chemical that is secreted by ovum, what is that? Acromycin or Hallenrase enzymes. So maybe that is the reason why they are not allowing the sperm or cell to enter into the sperm cells. So is that also toxic material? Means
no, I wouldn't say a toxic material, right? It is in the body itself. It is not doing anything to that person. And, it may be rejecting something coming into the body, but I wouldn't call that as a toxic.
Okay, Professor. Thank you so much.
Hello, sir. Hearing? I am Maruni Vichoran from Madurai, Tamil Nadu. Hello, sir. Hearing?
Sir, we are able to hear you, sir. Kindly ask the question.
If any chemical substance affect the spermatogenesis or oogenesis, any toxic chemical which affects the spermatogenesis or oogenesis, please name the chemical which affect the spermatogenesis or oogenesis. A toxic substance, if any toxic substance affect the production of sperm or ovum.
So, there are a number of examples.
Okay.
One good example is phthalates.
Okay.
the materials that are used to make plastic. Right? So that's the well studied model compound for affecting the male reproductive system.
Which area? Which area of the male reproductive system, please?
Sorry?
Which area of the male reproductive system affected by that chemical?
So it is the spermatogenesis, number of sperms, and motility and all those things.
Affect the mitochondria of the sperm. If any chemical affect the mitochondria or acrosome of the sperm, please.
So that detailed mechanism of action, Cholan, not right now. I need to think through.
May I speak, sir? May I speak, sir?
Yeah, Shankar, go ahead.
Any ROS species can damage spermatogenesis. I hope ROS, reactive oxygen species. So any ROS can damage spermatogenesis. That is, I think, answer. Any ROS, singlet oxygen, singlet carbon, anything which can affect spermatogenesis, and it affects each and every part of the sperm. Hello? Hello? Oh.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Please talk.
Okay. Any ROS species, that is reactive oxygen species, can damage spermatogenesis or sperm cells. So, like singlet oxygen, singlet carbon dioxide can damage spermatogenesis. So that is
reactive oxygen species definitely impact.
Yeah.
They impact so many organs, right? Now, most important thing is there an increased reactive oxygen species in testes? In sperm producing. That's the biggest question. Is not all the chemicals will do that. Because they cannot get there. Some chemicals are have more affinity towards that organ. So those,
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir.
Sai Chandana, you please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Now I request our head Department of Chemical Sciences, C. Parthasarathy sir, to propose vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sai Chandana. Good evening, all. This is C. Parthasarathy, Head Department of Chemical Sciences. On behalf of the organizing committee and Department of Chemical Sciences, Sri Vidyaniketan Degree College, Tirupati, it is my privilege and honor to take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed for today's international webinar on toxicology, a scientific field for human health safety, organized by our institute. We are thankful to our Honorable Chairman, Dr. M. Mohan Babu Garu, and revered CEO, Mr. Vishnu Manchu, for providing the state-of-the-art infrastructure and facility. At the outset, on my own behalf and the whole family of Sri Vidyaniketan Degree College, we thank today's renowned resource person, Dr. Satish Anand, DABT Principal Scientist, Beringer, Ingelheim, Georgia, USA, for readily accepting the invitation and delivering the thought-provoking insights of toxicology for human health safety. It is an undeniable fact that all the participants got deep knowledge and research inclination into the field of toxicology, sir. Thank you for your wonderful lecture on this toxicology. And we would like to thank our respected principal and webinar convener, Dr. D. Ashalata Madam, for her enthusiastic encouragement. We also thank Dr. P. Manohar, the UG PG coordinator, for his valuable guidance. A special thanks to organizing committee and the teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination for making this international webinar a grand success. Our heartfelt thanks to all the participants from various organizations and institutions for their active participation. Last but not the least, I would like to congratulate Dr. K. Mohan Kumar, today's webinar coordinator, for the successful organization and coordination. We request all the participants to give feedback using the link shared on WhatsApp and mails. The e-certificates will be issued to all the participants post submission of the feedback. With this, we move to the end of today's webinar. Once again, thank you one and all.
I thank all the participants for joining us today. Kindly fill the feedback forms for receiving your e-certificates. Best wishes, take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Satish Anand. See.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Suchitra. Thank you, Manidi Chodan.
Thank you, Mohan.
Okay.
Thank you for the valuable information. After a long time, I see to you.
Okay, thank you. No problem.
Thank you.
See you later.
Later.
Yeah, we'll close the session now. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
But it's not ending.